Oh, I'm black. I'm black again. Oh, there I am. Oh, that was my short tribute to John Collins Black. I wanted to start out my show in the dark. How's that for fun? All right. How's it going? It's Friday night. This is going to be the one and only show on the John Collins Black Treasure book. Looking at the lion's share. We have this many pages to go through. And a book that's got a torn jacket and also that's starting to have pages fall out. So it's time to retire this book. Maybe I should just burn it. Could just cut it up. The book is dedicated to treasure hunters everywhere. He says in red lettering, where your pleasure is, there is your treasure. Where your treasure, there your heart. Where your heart, there your happiness. And this is a quote by Saint Augustine. Or Augustine. I don't know, but there you go. We then go through the introduction, how to read this book. We got a table of contents. I'm so glad we have a table of contents. But anyway, the book starts out with a picture of a chest, the lion's share chest. It looks to be like a yellow and brown kind of thing. It's supposed to have 7 steps to open. And you'll find that out later in the book. You don't know that by just looking at the box on the first page. But my editor thinks this book is unlike any that you have ever read before. He's probably right. He's hidden a treasure somewhere in the United States that's worth millions of dollars, and it's waiting for you to find it. And he wants to get some fun facts out of the way. So he tells you what's in the chest. He does that here on an unnumbered page. An unnumbered page. And so he then gives you this introduction, and he separates this out. He says the value of these 4 boxes, including contents, is comfortably in 6 figures. It could be $101,000. Okay. The 5th and final box is larger than the other 4 boxes and contains inside it the lion's share of our valuable trove. There is no more particular chapter solely devoted to helping you find this larger treasure. Instead, the clues and hints will lead you to its hiding place, may be found anywhere inside this book. Maybe be helpful information here in this introduction. You're free to search or not for any number of these hidden treasure boxes if you wish, in any order if you choose. It's my hope that you'll find all 5 boxes, if that is what you want to do. I believe your life should be filled with an abundance of treasure. Like the proverbial moth to the fiery flame, I am drawn to joy, 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 joy. I simply want to experience as much joy, 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 joy as I can. And there's no greater high I get than when I'm sharing joy with others. Well, John Comer actually has a relative by the name of Joy. I hope that's not what he's referring to. Anyway, but who knows? There are some people, maybe you are fortunate to be one of them, for which the emotions of joy comes naturally. One they can call forth and wear it as easily as a warm, cozy mitten on a cold winter's day. But for much of my life, I was not such a person. Neither am I. I really don't experience much joy. Forrest Fenn took my joy away from me, for the most part. I was a contented, happy farmer until I learned about his acres of diamonds. And once I found his acres of diamonds, it then became a struggle. That's right, it was a struggle for me. I do not find joy. I do not find joy easily. Joy existed somewhere on the other side of a dense wall. Ooh, kind of like Chad Bird's dense wall. Joy is just on the other side of it. composed of the stress and anxiety of my own relentless daily expectations and pressures. I can hear joy beckon to me from time to time, but always distant and muffled. Well, I mean, once you start a startup in 2016 and you sell out your company for lots of money, so that you can then in September or October, when you say you left the company, yet other information says you didn't quite leave the company until a little later than that, perhaps. I don't know, but I just don't even know when you look for this treasure. You said you started to look in 2016. Uh, so the project took you 5 years, and it's been a continuous act of joy. Okay, acquiring the items, one wildly fun and wholly fulfilling, joyous adventure. I'm going to drink every time I read the word joy. I may not get 5 pages read. Mm. I will be ecstatic if you locate them, and I will share that celebration with you. How? What if nobody tells you they're out in the wild, right? How are you going to participate in that fun with us if they're truly hidden out in the wild? You may never know they're found. However, even if you have no interest in searching for any of the 5 treasure boxes, uh, I believe there are things of value for you in this book. Permit me just a moment to explain. An idea riding like a wild cowboy upon a lightning bolt of inspiration. Our lives are one perpetual treasure hunt, you and I see. We pour our heart and spirit, tears and sweat and energy and fiery will into acquiring those things we covet, whatever that may be. Hmm, not really. Uh, I think you can be content with what you have. The secret in life is not having what you want, but wanting what you have. So, again, a philosophical difference there, but I'll read more. As our blue and green planet revolves around its molten sun, life on Earth sketches out, like the book Sketchers, the sketchbook, sketchy things. I'm all for the sketchiness of it all. I know about the sketchbook. Over 8 billion different lifetimes, all searching, all drawing out in one huge treasure map across its surface. The arc of human history has been shaped by treasure hunts, both big and small, the conquests of Alexander the Great, Muhammad. Yet, in the darkness of conflict, the light reveals to us an elemental truth about our human condition. Treasure hunting is as universally shared human phenomenon. The experience of hunting for what we want connects every last one of us. Our hunts illuminate the common fabric we share. I totally know what the fabric is. Forrest Fenn and I used to joke about the fabric of life all the time. And all the iterations that had to do with threads, our unbreakable thread, all these things. I'm not immune to the messages you're communicating here, John Collins Black. I fully understand the messages you're communicating here. Okay, lived it, was part of it, know all about it. The hunts we go on to meet these basic human longings make up much of our everyday experience. That is a reality we all experience. So while it's often in vogue to fixate on our differences, the truth is, you and I are way more somewhere than not. You live in a big house in Topanga. I live in a small house in Kansas. We not the same. We not like you. You not like us. Oh, now we could get into some battle rap thing between two big rap stars. Uh, I first became aware of this as I set out creating my wish list of treasure objects. I am not a professional collector. I had no experience in acquiring precious or unique items of any kind. Okay, and then you had COVID. You wanted a modest list. Uh, every type and quality of object I desired was almost frictionless. I can't tell you how often I added a new piece, rare piece, to my wish list, only to have it appear available, seemingly out of nowhere. Yeah, I just went over to Forrest Finn's house and said, "Hey, do you happen to have a jelly jar? How about, do you happen to have at your house an olive jar, perhaps? Maybe some, I don't know." Studying the history surrounding each piece was like panning for gold. My research and I, my researchers and I, with archival references in hand, waded out into a stream of time. Time, like water, turned over tens of thousands of pages of documents and left us with beautiful nuggets of wisdom. Oh, we researched every item. Finding the largest treasure box are found within the histories of these treasure items themselves. So if you decide to seek out a treasure's location, you can take solace in knowing that the objects inside the box have illuminated your way. Hmm. So the objects inside the box are important to telling you the way. So every time you look at an object in this book, you might want to see where it's from, who made it, where they lived, where their lives intersected with the language in the book. And by doing this, you'll come to certain places where people were at. Later, we're going to find out where Steve Jobs was and where Wozniak was, and some trips to Washington State. And we're going to find Scotty and what Scotty has to do with things. And then we're going to learn about certain artists and authors and where they were born, where they grew up, and how they might play into the ideas and the solves and the ideas. But anyway, he's telling you that you need to pay attention when you come across those things. I am not alluding to the kind of adventure that navigates the seas looking for chests of sunken gold. I'm referring to all of those treasures you and I pursue within our daily routine, all those universal desires we share, like joy. Sometimes I wonder if this entire project was serendipity. I had one guy that I met use the word serendipity once, or perchance there were larger forces at play. Of course, there were. So, whatever the case, I do know that something of great value was offered to me that day. Okay, so you did this upon some prompting. I see. I stand on the eve of publishing this book. My foremost aspiration is to extend and share my joy with you. I hope you find something of value in these chapters. I believe you will, and I appreciate your being here. Okay, so I think this was written as a message to one person, honestly. I just think this was written as a message to one person. And then there's a picture of the big, big treasure that's available. How to read this book. If you're someone with no interest in finding the physical treasure I have hidden, then reading this book should be a straightforward exercise. Each chapter of part one is curated by history and stories of at least one item in the treasure. Sometimes multiple pieces conspire to share the wisdom of the topic. From time to time, historical fictional flair is added for storytelling effect. Every chapter has something of value to take from it. I hope these stories add color to a larger mural here. My initial instinct was to keep myself out of the way as much as possible, as this book is not meant to be a personal memoir. Still, I realize some readers, especially those who want to find the five treasure boxes, may be interested to learn a little bit about me or the events that led to the treasure hunt. Perhaps you are curious too. Let's get to it. I would advise to read the book once through, thoroughly indulge in it. I subtly placed many clues in the text, and let your spidey tense, let your spidey sense tingle. Let your thoughts marinate on the book after you finish. On subsequent reads, it will most likely become easier to distinguish clues more clearly. This is directly what Forrest Fenn said about how to read. How to read the poem. Read a book, then read the poem slowly at first, and then read it again. So I took out of this chapter, I took the following: the only joy in the world is to begin. Oh, that was a quote in the book. But I took out of this large mural, big picture, uh, spidey sense, and picnic painting. Have fun. You won't need to understand every clue or hint to bring together the full picture. Finally, know that the pointers I've left for you in this book will only bring you so close to any treasure box. If you want to find these treasure boxes, you'll have to travel to Topanga and go outside and search for them. Some people refer to this as boots on the ground. So you must travel to Topanga in order to get these treasures. So I'm going to start out now. We're officially on page 19 of the book. We're talking about the 120 carat sapphire. And he puts his chapters with the numbers on a little red thing. And he starts out by saying, a plan that changed the world. Now, I don't know if there's any clues in any of the numerology in the book. It's been known in the past that some treasure creators like to use numbers. And the numbers then can lead to a cipher key or maybe a GPS coordinate. And so I don't know if the numbers are important, but I like to take note of numbers when they come up, just so I can maybe see if there's any connection to anything with them. So let's start out with this book. The weight of the carat, the 120 carat sapphire. Okay. Now you'll later find out that the word sapphire is in one of the later part 2 puzzles in the book. It's in the word search, if you will. And so he says that he's not incorporating clues in the front of the book for the back of the book puzzles, but then again, why would you have the word sapphire in there and the first chapter be about sapphire? And let's read about this. Just the other day, first of all, we have to read the red ones. Eleanor Roosevelt says, it takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. And that was a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. And the other one is, tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Olivier. Okay. I'm not lost on the fact that you've incorporated wild in here more than once in this book. I know why. Subtle clue. Got it. Understand it. Read it. Just the other day, my 3.5-year-old son. Okay, so 3.5. I don't know if 3.5 is important. I don't know if 3.5 could be a GPS coordinate. I don't know if 120 could be important geological coordinate or not, but 3.5 and 120. His bright blue eyes beamed at me like lasers. Okay, so or should we take note of that? How could I say no? He led me hand in hand downstairs to his room. There, spread out across the floor, was a street map of Los Angeles. 3.5 Los Angeles, 120 Los Angeles. Does any of this make any sense? He inspected it, grabbed it, a pink highlighter and some blank paper and started marking. I'm working on a project, he said. I'm making a map. What kind of map, I asked. His marker moved and quickly flourished. A treasure map, he replied. I've never once talked with my son about the treasure I've hidden. He has no idea about them. My son's interest in discovering treasure is unidentified and uninfatuated, since him described in his DNA. By 18 months, I don't know if 18 is important here or not, he was burying plastic gold coins in the sandbox to dig right back up. Later, he was searching for dinosaur bones. Okay, got it. I'm looking for dinosaur bones. Got the point, know the clue, understand it. Don't need to talk about it more. There were Kleenexes to hide and find between couch cushions. There were fossils to excavate in the dirt driveway. Then there were plastic jewels to place and then discover within balls of sticky Play-Doh. He's on a seemingly endless quest. It's entertaining to watch. The first critical step to acquiring something we desire is to have a roadmap. Took the note, understand it. Do I use 18? Do I use 3.5? Do I use 120? How am I constructing my roadmap? Does my roadmap consist of the things you've talked about? Dinosaur bones, Kleenex tissues, couch cushions. Understand it, wrote about it, people know. Good. All makes sense. I know perfectly what you're talking about. This chapter is not about my shortcomings. That's for later. Rather, this chapter is about a person who, like my son, knew the importance of a good map. Know what you're talking about. You're talking to one person. Got it. Understand it. It's quite amazing that this man gets fairly few mentions in magazines, movies, and history books. Other more charismatic individuals grab that spotlight. Justin Posey, I'm just not going to, Lou, Toby, the Nookers. I'm just not going to mention them. I'm not going to mention them. Still, this person came up with a masterful game plan. He put together a roadmap that provided the direction for the company he led, and his execution of that plan laid the foundation of what it is. At the time I write this, the most valuable company in the history of the world. Is it Jeff Bezos? Or is it the finder of the Thars treasure? Let's rewind to the summer of 75. Life in America was certainly simpler then. Home phones were rotary and screwed into kitchen walls. Milkmen still left morning deliveries of bottles. Understand the clue? Relating it back to the Thars treasure hunt, I do remember jumping the milkman. Indeed, it was important to have that happen. A bit of calm had just arrived with the end of the Vietnam War, just a few months before. Yep, we've all read the book. We know about the My War for Me chapter. Got it. As the movies everyone headed to see, a newfangled action movie called Jaws by a budding director named Steven Spielberg. As you ventured around 1975 and asked every person that they knew about computers, they might have had to stop and think for a moment. If they gave you an answer at all, they might have described men in white lab coats. Scientists. In 1971, two Californians were in their early 20s. Don't know if the early 20s mean anything or not. Both men shared the name Steve. One sunny afternoon, the younger Steve was strolling in the neighborhood of his friend, Bill Fernandez. Okay, so here we're here's how the interpretation of how Steve Jobs actually met other people is up to interpretation. I don't actually think that this happened the way that he described it here. I don't know if this washing the car thing actually happened the way they said. Okay, so they're talking about the relationship between Jobs and Wozniak. Then they talk about the blue box, which is a device that you can connect to the phone and make free phone calls. And we finally get around to talking about Menlo Park and the Homebrew Computer Club. So this is when Wozniak and Jobs came up with their first computer. And again, this all happened in this Menlo Park area. So Mike, there's a guy by the name Mike Markula. Understand Mark. I understand Bill. I understand Mark. I got it. Understand it. Know what you're talking about. Don't need any further interpretation. But I mean, I don't know why you're writing this stuff. He was a strong believer in the potential of technology, and he loved the idea of Apple. Markula happened to know the perfect person for the job, Mike Scott. Scott oversaw a large team of a company named National Semiconductor. He understood complex systems. The three men pitched Mike Scott on the vision of Apple. Uh, and Mike Scott went by Scotty, and Wozniak was called Woz. So, do you then, look at this as Scottsville? Is Scottsville important? Don't know. Jobs was more of a thorn in the side. To appease Jobs, Scotty made him a badge that read employee number 0. Jobs was thrilled. Scotty gave himself badge number 007. So here's some more numerology. Don't know if it's a GPS coordinate. Don't know if it points to anything in particular. But it's always important to learn the numbers. Then they talked about the design of the actual computer and what it was going to look like. So we finally get over here to a tile pattern of the background where there's a picture of Scotty here. And I think it's always important to look at the photographs, the pictures. And I'm not even sure this is a particularly good image of Scotty, but I don't know what he's holding. And he's standing in front of some sort of background. Uh, Scott designed and built rocket ships. Then he worked to develop a Star Trek like tricorder that would identify a solid material with a simple scan. But Mike Scott's most beloved post Apple project of all was putting together one of the most valuable and spectacular rare gem collections in the world. Mike Scott's gem collection is prolific. It was estimated at one time he owned 26,000 different minerals. Appropriately, he has a mineral named after him. It's a dazzling blue cobalt mineral named Scottite. The sapphire pictured on the next page is the same as the one featured at the beginning of this chapter, and it was once owned by Mike Scott. If you'd like to find this sapphire and the other treasures in this book, then I think these pages, I think of these pages as your map. They offer a place to start, directions to follow, and ultimately a destination to which to arrive. As you encounter stories, ideas you feel you can divine from, write them down, draw them out, and organize them. Sometimes it takes a while for an entire plan to come fully into focus. The same holds true with the most things we pursue. Without a roadmap, it's aimless. It's easy to aimlessly wander. Okay, now back to my son's room. My thoughts began to drift. I found myself reflecting on my role as a father. My wife Kimberly and I have always agreed that it's important to have a well thought out parenting strategy. Kindness, generosity, integrity are at the top of our list. Ah, ah, ah. Okay. Well, for me, the stakes of parenthood can often feel high and at times seem a monumental task. Monumental task. That word seems to stick out in my mind. But being a good dad is a treasure I will pursue every day. It's amusing how a child, whilst remaining completely unaware, can effortlessly make his dad contemplate such weighty topics. But I'll take those reminders however they come. I realize with a father and a child, it's essential to have a plan, and I aim at each new moment to continue to refine it. Yeah, that's kind of a thing there. A plan with your father. Well, I didn't have this opportunity to have a real plan. My dad died 30 years ago. And I just now, I realized last year I now live more on this planet without my father than with my father. It'd be nice to have a surrogate father to maybe give me some direction at times, but finding a person that's exactly like your father, who then abandons you in the end is not very helpful. So it's true. You need to be careful as to who you subscribe father-like references to. But then again, he wants to work it out with his child. If Mike Scott and my son show us the first step in treasure hunting is to formulate a map, the likely second step is one of readying ourselves as much as possible to put our planning into action. Throughout this book, you will read stories of women and men who developed expert skills and achieved extraordinary accomplishments. Many of them are famous. Well, hell, we wouldn't even have fucking heard of them if they weren't famous, right? Certainly, each one of these people understand the value of preparation. Well, most of these people have more recognizable names. None of them prepared themselves more diligently in their field of expertise than the woman in our next chapter. To wit, Nugent spent over 50 years of her life cultivating her knowledge of rare art. The culmination of her work led her to collect many valuable and unique access. Happily for us, over a dozen of the objects she acquired now reside in our treasure. The two numbers here are over 50 and 12. Don't know if these numbers mean anything, but it's a 15 and 12. So what do we get? What do we get out of this first chapter? Well, I think John Collins Black is sending a message to a certain individual. He's giving information back that that person should understand and be able to put into formulating the idea that two people need to have a plan. Him and the solver need to have a plan. Thank you. Father and son need to have a plan. Got it. Understand it. Knew what you're talking about the first time. Didn't need to repeat it. Don't need 50,000 proxies out there repeating this to me. I don't need it. I got it. 50,000 proxies out there. Don't need to repeat it to me. Am I a little stubborn? Yeah. Do I not listen? Probably not. But that's just the way it is. Well, we've got a top four tonight. We've got Fantastic. We've got Trust the Living. We got MJ. And we got Sparky. Glad you guys come over. We now have killed off chapter number 1. So there's some pictures of some very attractive rings here on the next page. And we've got the 100 gold rings of Tuyet Neget. And the advice of this chapter is don't wing it. In other words, don't just give out your solve on YouTube. Don't just try and sell these items off on your own. Don't just try to not have a plan. You need to have a plan. Gotta know what you're doing. Gotta have a plan. So this next advice is have a plan, but don't wing it. Here we go. It usually takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech, says Mark Twain. Now, Mark Twain is famously a Missouri originator, right? But then has written stories about Calabasas County, the celebrated jumping frog of, was it Capro? The celebrated jumping frog of Capro and Godolphin. No, I'll take that back. It's the celebrated jumping frog of Calabasas County is the one that Mark Twain is most famous for. Mark Twain had many inventions over his lifetime. Mark Twain wrote many, many stories, one of which was about a guy, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn and Jim heading down a river, right? It's better to look ahead and prepare than to look back and regret. And this is a quote by Jackie Joyner Kersey. And again, joy. We found joy because there's Joyner, right? So maybe you should learn about Jackie Joyner Kersey because there was joy involved there. But anyway, my point here is that the book is really not a book about giving you a destination, but giving you a direction, advice for life. He's giving you approach, right? Okay. Boy, I look a lot of I took a lot of electives in college. I enjoy learning about many topics. Too bad there was never a class offered called Life Preparation 101. Now, Life Preparation 101 also relates to Highway 101. Highway 101 is in California. It's also featured in the Ready Player One information. It's featured in the uh, uh, Mountain View story of war games. Uh, Again, Life Preparation 101. I've now given you the 101. Okay? It's right there. First chapter tells you need the map. Second chapter, he's telling you that don't wing it. Right? Don't wing it. Now, on the 101, there were several companies that used to be right there in Menlo Park, uh, in that uh, in that valley. Okay, you can look these things up, right? You can look up Howard Hughes Aircraft. You can look up uh, some of the aircraft manufacturers in that Long Beach area that's even south of LA. Okay, you can look at the Spruce Goose, right? So when you don't wing it, you maybe are trying to eliminate some of these aircraft areas uh, in that 101 thing. I don't know. It's up to you to discover. I'm going to be out of here pretty soon. Uh, that would have been an ideal a direction, right, for me, because by the end of my fifth and final year of college, I was barely more prepared for life beyond university than when I graduated from high school. Uh, while many fellow students took classes like classical music, history, literature, and Renaissance, and philosophy were mine. Now, I wrote poetry and delivered pies for Pizza Hut. Well, fun fact here, the Pizza Hut was founded by the Carney brothers in Wichita, Kansas. Okay. Oh, by the way, Bear used to live in Wichita, Kansas. Bear, who was Bear? Who was Bear? Who was Bear? Is it Capo's brother? Probably. One late spring day, only weeks before my graduation, the question, what I might do after college, finally wormed its way into my skull. Okay, so this is kind of like Forrest Finn's not going to college. I consider this the Forrest Finn. Uh, I didn't go to college chapter. Okay, so I treated this puzzle as if it was an assignment in economics. I walked to the student library using the old classic Dewey Decimal System, and he eventually got to the book that told him what careers would pay the most money. Uh, the next day, he opened the Daily Tar Heel newspaper to look for jobs in sales because he found out that sales was one of the highest paying jobs. He found one for steak knives. Nope, didn't want to do that. But eventually, he found his way to this water filter company. All right, so now let's just say you're in the area and you're looking for water filtration. So on the small scale, this water filtration is the filter that the person puts in the home. But let's say you've already mentioned Life Preparation 101. So you've got the reference of the 101. And now maybe he's actually talking about salination plants, water filtering by the coast. Maybe he's talking about ocean type water filtration systems at this point. And so maybe he's giving you a direct link to a place where there would be water filtration, etc. The other thing is that he talked about the decimal system. Is he now giving you GPS coordinates with the numbers in this chapter? So if you start at the top of the Dewey Decimal System, right, and then you take the numbers that he puts below, and also when he wrote out the letter He wrote out in letters SALES, comma, viola in this chapter. Okay. Uh, this lends itself to possible cryptograms using a number cipher substitution to derive a specific location with the way in which you presented the information here. Or maybe you take the numbers, put the decimals in place, because he mentions decimals more than once in this chapter. There was something at that company that didn't catch my interest, though. While most reps were out selling products in people's homes, some reps got to stay in the office and do group orientations, like the one I'd seen my first day. These reps got to tell jokes and make people laugh. They got to perform. This seemed to be a lot more fun. Yeah, it is. It's a lot more fun to be a nooker and not have to pedal the water treatment systems. I play in a college acoustic rock band. We have decent crowds sometimes. Does that count? I chuckled and amused at myself. Uh, I don't know. I wrote down REM here. I don't know. REM. Um, I don't know why I wrote down REM, but I don't know. Now I was in a pickle jar. Just a week ago, I began my sales job totally unprepared. But the company training program had helped me manage some success. Yet the company had no training when it came to giving orientations. There were no scripts to memorize. There were no dress rehearsals. It was up to me to remember what I'd seen before and do it myself. I could have asked Brian for some time to practice. I might have asked him to schedule me for a different day than the very same night, but I didn't either. Even though a part of me was terrified, and I would not have been more so if I had known what would happen next. Okay, so he's describing a situation where you're unprepared and you don't know exactly how to approach that situation. Now, later in here, you're going to find out that he ends up asking a blind man to tell him what color something is because he was unprepared. He didn't know how to face what was going to happen. Well, I myself have had these kinds of experiences in my life. I went to a person's home. I didn't know exactly what I was going to talk about. I had certain expectations of a meeting, and those expectations were not the same as what I got. And at this point, you either have a fight or flight response to the situation. And the message here is that if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. And so I was in this fighter. I was in this waterworks situation where I broke down and started to cry. And instead of asking the deaf man if he could hear me or if he could give me more time to prepare, instead I just ran out on the job. I don't know if there were second chances or maybe this is the second chance. I don't know. But I get it. I understand what you're talking about. Waterworks. I get it. Not being prepared, asking stupid questions. While everyone looked on, I dropped, plop, plop, 2 dabs of solution into the test tube. Now, again, this might be where you're doing the decimal system, right? The tap water turned dark orange immediately. If you look at some of the desalination ponds out along the 101 in the Menlo Park area, you'll find that they turn a certain orange color through the process. Go to Bixby Park, Google it, look down. Primo, you'll be right where you need to be. Remember, this is a test meant for a pool. The chart in my hand shows what the pool levels of chlorine should be. Then I stepped towards the friendliest person in the room, an elderly man with a kind face, Forston. I held the test tube and chart out towards him. Sir, sir, and this is how Forrest always talk, please tell us, where on this chart is the color of our tap water? I implored. His wife shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The man gave a kind-hearted grin, but did not answer. I realized he hadn't understood my question. I smiled reassuringly at the audience. Then I bent down, closer towards the man. He just read the chart, sir. The number on the chart does the color indicate right there. I shot my index finger out at the color chart. That's 1 again. 101. Okay. His daughter now seemed to have been uneasy too, though my brain did not register this in real time. Yeah. Don't think Kelly was really happy either. No. I don't know, the man said softly. What's going on? I wondered. I looked up at everyone. This time I stretched a smile with as much fake confidence as I could muster. I looked back at the old man. Oh, I bet you do know. It's not hard at all. Just look right here at the chart. After a moment of silence, his wife leaned over and spoke loudly. My husband's blind. He cannot see your chart. All right, got it. Understand it. That was my very last presentation for a long time. As I look back at this disaster, it's easy to see this train wreck approaching from miles away. Okay, so a train wreck that's approaching might be important. But I think what's important about this story, it's really a story to a certain person, to one person, who may have had this type of experience in the past, to provide some understanding of the situation, how it was not the responsibility of the blind man to tell you what color it was. Instead, it was the responsibility of the person that was asking the questions to know that the person was blind. Okay. All right. Got it. I got it. My strategy of winging it was not getting me anywhere close to where I wanted to be. Okay. In 1970, at the age of 36, Nuette and her husband, Stephen Mark Brighter, founded Arts of Asia. Now, this is the second time we've ran into a Mark. We had a Mark in the previous chapter, and now we've had a second Mark, if you will. Um, uh, Among the most cherished and prized collections was a selection of 100 ancient gold rings from Southeast Asia. He amassed these over a span of 40 years. There is something mystical and alluring about this adornment. The pre-anger, the pre-anger. Okay, so now having experienced this situation where your desire to be a person who does the sales presentations has not happened, and you now have anger. You're angry about it, right? Uh, the pre the pre-anger period was known for its extraordinary, intricate jewelry. Yet this ring's craftsmanship seemed ahead of its time. Okay, now most of the rest of this chapter, I believe, just tells you factual information about what it is that you have. Uh, but there are some things like if you're the wearer, if its wearer were Hindu, this heavy gold ring had immense symbolism. In the Hindu myth of creation, Brahma, the creator of the universe, was born from an egg of gold. Brahma then created the universe from a golden embryo. And you also talk about the lotus here, um, and the lotus plant. Uh, you talk about the mystery of scholars. Gold bowls full of aromatic were carried by their large staff. The walls of the throne room were decorated with gold flowers. The entire ruling pavilion shimmered with gold. Our lotus ring of enlightenment may have adorned such a court. So he talks about the pre-Angor period.
The city was literally constructed to mirror what the Khmer believed the world of the gods looked like above. The preparation that went into planning and building of the structures of Angkor is incredible in its scale and staggering in its detail. Every stone, every statue, every archway were measured and angled with a specific intent. All corners of Angkor were mapped out and designed with a special purpose. Along with their architecture, the legitimacy of the Khmer royal family was also carefully crafted. Although curated in myth, the early Khmer leaders created legend that explained their royal bloodline, a fabrication that told us an ancient Indian wise man who married a princess who was the daughter of an immortal Naga king. It was from the union of the immortal blood the Khmer kings claimed they had descended. Their royal lineage was codified according to clever and meticulous branding. So, what we're getting into here is talking about how you establish a brand. How do you establish lineage? How do you establish a narrative? So, again, this is the idea of the establishment of a narrative. And it's important to establish a narrative, and it's establishing a narrative that's time tested, that nobody will challenge. So, the plan, okay, it's important to have a plan. And the plan, the important part of the plan is to establish the narrative of the Khmer, which then cannot be challenged. And so, if you look at it from that way, John Collins Black is trying to tell you and everybody what needs to be done in the treasure hunt, and that is to establish the plan. Once the plan is established, uh, make proof and additional proof of its authenticity. Continue to prove its authenticity so that it's not challenged. Hidden caches were secreted away within the temple walls. The Khmer reigned from the 8th century until 1431, when Angkor was finally defeated by the Siams. The Siams are the lawsuits. Periods of extreme drought and flooding followed. Uh, extreme flooding. Well, I can relate to that. The jungle and its strangler roots steadily grew, working their way up over and around the abandoned city walls. Over the next 3 centuries, the once mighty city was slowly swallowed up until it was hidden from the outside world. Just like the forest and treasure hunt has been swallowed up and hidden from the outside world. So next he talks about the Champo Indians and their independence. So they prioritized their independence and devised a way to dissuade and defeat against invaders and outside influences. Because of this, through the ancient ancients and even during most of the reign of the litigants against them, the Champa culture was able to retain its independence. While the Khmer conquered the other regions around them, the Champa were almost successful in their defense. Were always successful. So again, this is just a message about having a defensible position. Uh, so I think that's what we're about there. Oh, I'm getting ready to jump into the JCB hunt. Hope it isn't harder than Forrest Finn's hunt. Oh well, I'm reading you the book right now. I'm reading. I'm giving you my ideas directly from the book. So jump in with both feet. Whether it was the Champa's careful study of attack and defense, the Hindu preparation for the afterlife, or the Khmer's intricate building of Angkor, one thing is for sure. None of these cultures were winging it. And this is the point of this whole chapter is that Forrest Fenn had a plan, and he put a plan in place. so that there wouldn't be challenges to his plan. Just as the Khmer and just as the Champa did, so too did Boris Ben. He established a defensible position and was able to defend it. If you are reading this book hoping to find the treasures I've hidden, I believe you might suggest not to wing this. She'd probably advise to not rush through these pages. She might encourage you to get to know these stories, to consider their content, and not dismiss any details. She might even say this is a good strategy when looking for anything we seek. The principle holds true with most any treasure we pursue. The more you and I focus on a thing we desire, the more we understand ourselves in relation to it. And the easier it is because to chart a course to where we need to go, of course, such process takes a bit of effort, and it requires being attentive in details. For me, this last fact is particularly hard. I find dealing with details to be one of my greatest challenges. I have always preferred a 36,000-foot view. Creating this treasure hunt and writing this book, more than anything I've ever done, has forced me to face this weakness of mine head on. So, in other words, to think that you're just going to find the treasure and walk away and not have a plan is foolish. You just can't wing that. You got to make sure that the treasure hunt creator and you are on the same page. Over the course of 18 months, Seth Gould showed me firsthand how the act of making something wonderful is rooted in one's willingness to attend to the details that comprise that thing. From the finer points, beauty emerges. I understand that there's a quiet and elevated joy in that. Okay, so now we're up to chapter 3, and I'm almost an hour into this show, so this may turn into a series. I would probably be on until morning if I keep going. Okay, so chapter 3. So the first thing is you gotta have a plan. Second thing is don't wing it. Don't just have a defensible position for everything you do in your treasure hunt. And the next one is the joy is in the details. So again, each of these chapters gives you treasure hunting advice, if you will. Okay, uh, he's trying to tell the solver of the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt what they did wrong. Noted, heard it. Joy is in the details. In photographs, the smallest thing can be a great subject. The little human detail can become a leitmotif. And that's a quote by Henry Cartier-Bresson. With a keen eye for detail, one truth prevails. And this is by Gosho Oyama. And again, we could look up these two people and find out exactly who they are and what their quotes mean. And so then on this page, there's a picture of the one of the puzzle boxes. So Japan is a culture alive with details. The Japanese take an immense pride in being exacting in their art, engineering, and service. These qualities are so much of what makes Japan special and why once I finally visited, I almost never returned home. It was late 2015, and a few months prior, I had hit a creative wall. After working for several years in the music industry, the grind had worn me down. Okay, so I guess what? You're now not trying to found that company named Game? Are you not that John Comer? Or are you that John Comer escaping to Japan? Or were you really over in a third world country talking to the Shalom brothers? This is where my questioning of your timeline gets a little bit like, how in 2015 did you go to Japan and at the same time being a CMO in a startup company aimed at Bitcoin in the maybe you're a great multitasker. I don't. You can look for the treasure. You can be in this game. I don't know. This is where it gets confusing for me. But you're the one giving me advice, okay? So I'm listening. So it was late 2015, and a few months prior, I'd hit a creative wall. After working for several years in the music industry, the grind had worn me down. My joy was gone. I still love music, but I was exhausted, and I needed a vacation badly. A friend of mine who happened to be visiting from out of town suggested I go to Japan. When he said this, I stared blankly at him for a moment, and I knew nothing about Japan. I had never even considered traveling there yet. So, is your Japan the Puerto Rico of somebody else? So, is the idea that don't wing it, just escape to another country like Puerto Rico? I don't know. Knowledge is, I couldn't help but detect. The following week, I bought a one-way flight to Tokyo. Apparently, you're not. At one point, you said that you were dating Kimberly, yet you're more than willing to go to Tokyo out of the blue on a friend suggestion. Okay. From the time it took to land and arrive in my hotel, I had fallen in love. Tokyo is the most populated city in the world. Its landmass is enormous. Its skylines are spectacular. The trains arrive every 3 minutes. They're never late. You can eat at a five-star restaurant. Oh, he just said 35. That's 35 right over there. Good thing I'm not trying to make a road map. If I'm trying to make a road map and I'm now at 35, I'm right outside my door here. Eat at a five-star restaurant or visit a local 7-Eleven, and you can accept this politeness. Now, if you like 7-Eleven, you can look up the founding of 7-Eleven and the preponderance of where how the 7-Eleven got started. Okay, could be a clue. Tokyo has the latest technology. Dozens of incredibly well manicured gardens. Again, this is about the 30th time he's used 12 or dozens. I'm keeping track. Keeping track. You might have heard of Hakone or Hakone. It's famous for its natural mineral baths and scenic beauty, nestled below lush green mountains. But there's another thing this beauty place is also known for. It's finely crafted wooden puzzles. Now, I wrote in my notes that this could be describing Glenwood Springs and Allen's Park. I don't know. Japan puzzle boxes are Japanese. Six-sided. You got to slide the panels. Combination of movements. There is a budding joy. God damn it, I got to drink again. More joy. There's a budding joy. Kimberly and I were so enamored by these Japanese puzzle boxes we saw in Hakone that we bought several as gifts for our friends and family. Let's go back 2 paragraphs. I bought a one-way flight to Tokyo. From the time it took to land and arrive at my hotel room, I had fallen in love. Not our hotel room, but my hotel room. 2 paragraphs later, Kimberly and I were so enamored by these Japanese puzzle boxes we saw in Hakone. Okay. Timeline, please. They bought some for their friends and ourselves to boot. I understand the boot. Got the reference, 100%. When you open up the puzzle box, you've got the lid, then you've got the tissue, then you've got the outside of the box. You have the boots themselves, and you have to figure out the work. You have to do the work to figure out how there were 7 moves there and what each one meant. Yeah, I got you. Uh, After we returned at last to Los Angeles, these puzzle boxes were interactive at our dinner parties for many months to come. Well, I'm glad you could have dinner parties. I heated up a TV dinner tonight and choked down the institutional mashed potatoes as best I could. Uh, Dinner parties, yeah, those would be nice. Meanwhile, about 6,000 nautical miles east of Japan and 40 miles northeast of Asheville, North Carolina, lies another small town. The place is named Bakersfield. I mean Bakersville, not Bakersfield, California, but Bakersville. Uh, so this is where he finds this guy with a humble blacksmith studio, uh, and he's crafting these. Seth Gould is this blacksmith's name, and he spent more than a year designing and crafting the 5 treasure boxes that now safekeep our complete treasure. Yeah, I understand. Mr. Blacksmith is your box creator. Okay. I had no interest in chests that were glorified containers. I wanted each treasure box to be as original, desirable, and well crafted as any treasure item they would hold. I wanted each treasure box to be a treasure piece itself. I sourced boxes for weeks. I scoured every auction house. I networked through a large list of private sellers. The only option was to commission our treasure boxes to be built. But who could do this? I had no clue. As if my realization conjured its very own solution, the very next day, after deciding to have our boxes made, I came about a box that looked to be a masterpiece. It was in the Smithsonian American Art Museum. The box even had a name. It was called Coffer. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Coffer is nearly 2 feet long. It's forged from iron, brass, and steel. It looks rather like a small fortress. In addition to its careful craftsmanship and bold beauty, Coffer is also a puzzle box. The coffer was made, of course, by Seth Gould. So, you know, I don't know if this is the coffer box. Reminds me of a coffin. Maybe certain things had to be done. When we returned from Hakone to North Carolina, Seth decided to create a new spin on the traditional Japanese puzzle box. So he used metal. He admits to having a much family that lives not too far from him. So here's the process of doling out compliments, as many as you can, on the person that's going to make your box. I know I made the mistake of criticizing everybody in the treasure hunt. I did not dole out copious compliments to K-Pro, who was building my box. I didn't praise all the other people who were doing things to help preserve my box. Uh, yeah, I lashed out instead of embracing them. So yeah, lesson learned. Thanks, appreciate it. Well, I finally explained this treasure hunt to Seth, just as John's explaining it to me right now. He agreed to clear much of his schedule for the next year to work out our 5 boxes. Um, I worked as much as I could last year on the 5 boxes. I cleared out as much of my schedule as I could. Unfortunately, I could only go recover 3 of them. I apologize I didn't get all 5. As you may notice, once you read part 2 of this book, the overall design of our largest treasure box uh, combines design elements from each of the other 4 boxes. There are 7 actions required to open it. When you find this box, I invite you to have fun trying to discover the secrets to unlocking it. That's the joy of a puzzle box, after all. So apparently, you're going to have 7 specific steps are required in order to unlock the puzzle. So the first one is probably having a plan. The second is not winging it, right? The third step is going to be this chapter, which is finding joy in the details. So if you want to look at a behind the scenes video of this, so Seth is not only talented, he is genuine and considerate and was a pleasure to work with from start to finish. Okay, I'm sorry, I made that mistake. I was not a pleasure to work with, and I was not very considerate, and I'm usually not a pleasure to work with. So I got it. I understand the message, the subcontext here. You got to be a better person in order to get your treasure. I got it. It's all a learning experience. Trying to find my joy here. I'm trying to find my joy. I'm trying to be a better person, right? So now we're going to get to Michael Perkin. The quality of Seth's work reminds me as much of another artist who made an item that's in our treasure. He's got talent and he's devoted to the details. His name was Michael Perkin. He was the head master worker at Fabergé. In the spirit of playfulness, I thought it'd be only appropriate to include a magnifying glass in our treasure, a Sherlock Holmesian symbol. And this, by the way, magnifying glass appears in the Appalachian Trail map. So here's a chapter that talks about a person by the name of Seth Gould who lives in Appalachia, who is in Bakersfield, Appalachia, who has within the chapter where you're writing about it a magnifying glass. And so why wouldn't you look in North Carolina for the treasure box that has the magnifying glass? I'm trying to not be condescending, honestly. I am just not the kind of person that has humility. Okay, I'm not the person that can have humility. I feel like I'm having to explain things that are quite obvious to people. But if you've got a puzzle in the back of the book, and you've got a magnifying glass in the puzzle, and you've got a puzzle in the front with a magnifying glass in it, and you're talking primarily about a person who's doing his work in North Carolina, who's doing his work in Bakersfield, and you've got a treasure quest that you're trying to solve about an Appalachian Trail, and you're not considering North Carolina, then you're much smarter than me. All right. As for the precise artistry of the magnifying glass, I won't spend time explaining the intricacies of the gold recalcate follet pattern that adorns it, nor the specific techniques with which it was made. You can investigate on your own if you'd like. However, Michael Perkin's life story is certainly worth at least a few words. Okay, so here's going to talk about Perkin being a blacksmith. Got it. John Collins blacksmith. He transitioned to goldsmithing at 18. Is it okay? So it's 18 years. It's going to take 18 years to become a goldsmith if you're a blacksmith. Okay, at 26, earned the title of workmaster. 54 Imperial Fabergé eggs were produced in total. These eggs are some of the most sought-after jeweled artworks ever created. Today, each Imperial Fabergé egg is valued at $10 million. Michael Parkin designed and crafted more than half of all these imperial eggs. Well, there's the number 54. I don't know if it's Highway 54. Don't know. Every Fabergé egg has its own fascinating history. So they're talking about the czars. In 2004, a fancy little jeweled egg suddenly appeared in an antique store in the Midwest United States. Was it on Highway 54? So anyway, there's this story about how this lost watch egg thing ended up. The only way the guy figured out he had something of value was to look at the details. So I admire people who appreciate details. I have a great respect for those who master them. Much of my admiration stems from the fact that noticing detail has never been a strength of my own. Many aspects of this treasure hunt challenged me, especially detail intensive, where the placements of the treasure boxes, creating the clues to find them, and then organizing those within this book. I had never before tackled such an in-depth and comprehensive project all alone. However, this endeavor has made me more well-rounded for the effort. Somewhere there's no doubt that one of the main reasons I fell in love with Japan was that the Japanese culture allowed me an opportunity to uh, bask in qualities more refined. It enveloped me and helped me cultivate a new appreciation for detail. Experiences like these have given me a clear, fundamental knowing of how detail matters. I now better understand the way the granular makes the whole. Okay, so again, he's giving you a lecture about not just looking at the big picture, but understanding that the details are important. You just can't go out and find the treasure or demand that the guy give you the treasure because there are all these details that have to be worked out. When reading this book, noticing details will help you find our treasures. This point is fairly obviously, but beyond the treasure hunt, valuing details can be rewarding in lots of ways. Simply remembering a name or a birthday or a shared moment can make all the difference to someone. Yeah, I used to send these cards to Forrest every time he had a birthday or anniversary. But I got no requisite. I got nothing out of that. Except the joy. Except the joy in myself for having sent them. I did feel that joy. I actually did feel joy. I actually did feel joy at one time, but that joy has since worn off. Noticing what others need without being told, purposely building the foundation of relationships with integrity, being present and aware, and alive with one another. These are the types of details that cultivate happiness. And it did. I was really happy at one time in the Forest Fennec treasure hunt. Can I master details to become more capable father, a more compassionate husband, and a better friend? These are all treasures worth pursuing. Oh, I don't know if I really want to cultivate a relationship with some people who might even be in charge of handing out this treasure. Because what do you call that? Sucking up? I mean, if you don't have true, legitimate feelings about people, well, faking it is just as bad as not even being present, in my opinion. And there are too many people in this world that fake their willingness to be there for somebody else. And then when it comes time to really be there, they're not. And I'd rather not have any pretension about that. I don't want to pretend to be your friend. I'd rather just be your friend if you're worth being a friend. So, again, the life lessons of the John Collins Black book, critically on display here in this chapter, where he's talking about being present with other people, expanding your joy with others, and making sure it's sincere. I want to thank, again, those are the treasures. The treasures worth pursuing are the ones of being there in detail with others. Got it. Understand it. This theme is very much alive in our next chapter. It's a story about a famous emerald mine, a 96-carat emerald discovered there. I don't know if Highway 96 is important or not, but it could be. The man's name's Rob Levinsky, and he's a friend of yours. He's been a trailblazer his entire life. The track Rob follows is undeniably his own, and along it, he continually uncovers countless rewards. So, if you notice the photograph on page 45, notice how the edge of the photograph on the picture of the clock that was in the Fabergé egg is similar to the frame of the Appalachian Trail box. In other words, if you look at the outline of the map, it's in the Appalachian Trail Part 2 chapter, and you look at the daguerreotype edge of the photograph here on page 45, they are the same daguerreotype design. All right, what's been going on in chat? I'm going to get caught up here and then go back to the book. Sparky was the last one I mentioned. Kids here. Zozos came in. Says hi, bragging. My treasure find of the day equals a tool and a perfect circle. Houston, Texas. 4 posters. I paid $90. I made $900. Oh, good for you. Jeep Girl says that the residence was in Glenwood Springs for 8 years. Yeah, I actually one time thought Glenwood Springs was the Warm Waters halt for the Forest Finn treasure hunt. So Sparkplug had a good friend move to Glenwood Springs. Doc Holliday was buried in Glenwood Springs. The ski towns of Aspen, good place. The Hanging Lake was good. Well, if you remember right, in the Forest Finn treasure book, uh, the sheriff enjoyed and cared for the outlaw enough that he hung him at the lake with a brand new rope. It's nice to go above Hanging Lake. Flat tops for four-wheeling. Oh, yeah. Good hike. The Whistling Bunghole's offering up a gesundheit. Oh, I did sneeze, didn't I? I'm working on gathering together 17 years of research into something usable. I just ordered my third file folder wall organizing of 20 subfolders. My front room is looking like an ER meeting room. Oh, yeah, maybe you could do something uh, for organization. Well, I don't know what Matt DeMoss is doing right now, but maybe you could get in contact with Matt and he could be your book editor. And the Hoof is here. Hello, Hoof. Okay, we're moving on to chapter 4. Blazing the Path. Chapter 4 is Blazing the Path. So again, you need a roadmap. You got to have a plan. You don't want to wing it, right? And now, and you want to offer yourself up with humility. But once you do that, then you can blaze the path. I will finish this beer, and I think I'll be done. And it may take me a few shows to get through this book. I might be on all week, next week. I'm not going there. It's the Hoof of the Hearted type. You used to get me to say that. You used to be able to get me to say that, but now not so much. So, chapter 4, is the blaze the path. Okay, and this is where we have the quote, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. And this is by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. You might remember when K-Pro initially put this out, that they had this attributed to David Frost. And I pointed it out on their show that David Frost was the reporter that did the Nixon tapes, and it got changed before the book went to publication. But I thought that was so funny that they had misquoted a fairly legitimate poem. One of my earliest treasure hunting memories took place the summer I was 7. As the sun baked hot from its high arc above. Understood? Know what the arc is. I knelt with a stick in hand, dirt clumped under my fingernails, digging and scratching away at a red dirt embankment. I had walked down the sloped street in front of my parents' 3-bedroom suburban home to the cul-de-sac below. From there, I had taken a sharp left, crossed the gravelly pavement, and stepped onto a barely worn path, mostly used by the dogs that barked as they ran in packs around our neighborhood. Again, if you are afraid of the deaf dog, you might want to turn back. But if you're not afraid of the deaf dog, just keep going. Hope you understand. If you do, you do. If you know, you know. The trail followed a metal chain link fence for a ways. Once past the fence, the path continued a little longer before ending abruptly at an empty lot. This lot was my excavation site. You know, kind of just like when the fishers went out on the ocean, they had reached their excavation site. Here I dug and dug and dug, and Preston. Here I dug and dug and dug with Preston. The pile of finger-sized rocks I had amassed was sorely unimpressive. Yet my enthusiasm did not wane. Dislodging a rock. Oh, that doesn't go in this chapter. That note goes somewhere else. Dislodging a rock, I pressed my thumb on it as hard as I could, just like Forrest Fenn covered up Philadelphia with his thumb. Although I knew that only some miles up the road was the Hiddenite emerald mine, I didn't fathom unearthing an emerald. My expectations were much lower. Caked on dirt, be damned. I just wanted to know if this rock in my hand would finally be a clear quartz crystal. My heart raced. Rose quartz would be great too, though I'd never seen more than a few pink flecks on any rock unearthed so far. Logic whispered, this rock is probably yet another dark, smoky quartz. There'll be no shine or shimmer or sparkle. My heart yelled back. This time it will. I wiped the rock with my filthy shirt. I held it up. Sunlight fell flat on its surface, revealing nothing but dark, murky hues. With a sigh, I dropped the rock on the pile atop its brothers and sisters. For a moment, I looked with disappointment at my gnarled dig site, but then, like a bee landing on a pistol, a ping of excitement buzzed in my belly, and electric anticipation surged through my veins. I plunged my stick into the ground, twisting the dirt out of the way, with even more vigor than before. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the bumblebee. The bumblebee behind me, which was, if you will, like a bee landing on a pistol, a ping of excitement buzzed in my belly. He's telling you exactly what you need to find. At the exact time I was digging, there was another boy doing the same about 400 miles northwest, near Columbus, Ohio. Like this kid was a highly energetic and precocious child, the type that would drive his mother crazy from time to time. His dig site was an old, worn down hillside. Here the boy studied the striations of the 300-year-old sandstone that marked the area. He searched for evidence in its grooves. He knew he had looked closely enough, these markers would point him to the hiding spots of the fossils scattered around. That boy's name was Rob Levinsky, and he was following the clues wherever they led. Now, this is where some people are getting their idea that Columbus, Ohio, or Ohio, is a potential site for one of the treasures of the five treasure boxes because he's mentioning this Rob Levinsky. He's mentioned Columbus, Ohio. There's also this movie in the past and future section reference that has a reference to the Columbus stacks, if you will. Uh, so, again, people are getting confirmation for this Columbus. Uh, he searched for evidence in the grooves. Now, I think he's giving you information here about the grooves in a brick, froggy, if you will. And again, the froggy, the froggy, the brick is back there. But anyway, uh, Rob was a child that was very inquisitive. He was under the tutelage of Carlton Davis. Uh, Carlton was in his 60s. He sported a double-breasted suit. A double-breasted suit. Now, if you go look at the Houston, Texas photographs of Sam Houston, look at any photograph of Sam Houston, any photograph of Sam Houston, and specifically look at the statue, the monument, which was mentioned earlier, of Sam Houston, that is on display on Interstate. What interstate, by the way? Did I just say 35 earlier? Anyway, my point being that the clues are here. You just have to recognize them. Double-breasted suit, right? Looking at the cracks. Okay, the frog with the cracks. All right, I've gone too far. I'm just saying that the information is here for you to solve your puzzles. Now, you just have to use it. Carlton's eyes immediately fell upon the various fossils that were displayed on the desk in front of him. Where did you find those? Oh, these? Replied. You'll have to ask my son. He left them on my desk. He leaves them everywhere. Carlton's eyes glanced as he gave a thoughtful smile. I'd love to meet your son. A 60-year-old man wanting to meet a teenage boy. Jeffrey Epstein, where are you? Anyway. Not long after Carlton and the young Rob met for the very first time, Carlton appreciated Rob's infectious curiosity. Rob imagined a sympathetic elder might be a perfect fossil finding friend. I'm not going to tell you where the fossil finding friends are in a father son relationship because it's Forrest Fenn. He's giving you information right here to help you solve. Carlton was a well-known local mineral collector and an important and respected member of the Columbus Rock and Mineral Society. Okay, so then you get this whole meeting of Carlton and Rob and all of their uh, fossils. Carlton's minerals sparkled and gleamed with the full spectrum of the rainbow. Rob was smitten. He soon became a Columbus Mineral Society younger member. Okay, so Rob became the largest retail volume dealer of rare minerals in the world. He was overcome by the natural beauty of fine minerals, and Rob Levinsky turned this into let's say, a business. Young Rob had already won the hearts of the elder members of the Columbus Mineral Society by speed reading their entire library of mineral books. Okay, so a little known fact about the Forrest Fenn is that Forrest Fenn's first contribution to literature was not what you think it is. He provided the color plates for a book called The Turquoise. And The Turquoise was a reprint of an original book from the National Academy of Science. And it focused on turquoise. Forrest Fenn, while working with a guy by the name of Rex Aerosmith, were involved in a project that came out of the Rio Grande Press to reprint that book, in which they used Forrest Fenn's turquoise items. And in the very first part of Forrest Fenn's book, The Thrill of the Chase, there's a picture of Forrest Fenn signing a book near a turquoise mine. So I believe the reason in which John Collins Black incorporated this particular story about Rob Levinsky into this book is to provide attention to A, fossils, fossilized remains, and B, to the book The Turquoise. Rob's charm and persistence also convinced members to take him on several mineral collecting field trips. He volunteered to work helping members organize their displays. He also joined them at these mineral shows. By the time Rob turned 14, he had become an official mineral dealer. He set up shows in Columbus and Cincinnati. Now, this is where Forrest then would intersect with Rob Levinsky, because Joseph Henry Sharp was had roots in Cincinnati. Having observed the other dealers closely, Rob noticed inefficiencies in their businesses. Rob saw how dealers priced minerals and used this to his advantage, buying from one dealer and then selling to another. I just paraphrase that. Soon, with heart-racing anticipation, he was able to make his first $500 purchase when Rob took his birthday and bar mitzvah money and bought his first $1,000 rock, a fluorite from Illinois. His mother promptly escorted him back to the car and returned it. Bob's full-hearted plea won the day. His mother let him keep the fluorite. Rob eventually sold that for a nice profit, too. So anyway, he grew his mineral business, and he got paid finder's fees to find other people's minerals, and eventually made this into the most valuable rock and mineral treasures that have ever been found. Very few people can say they wake up every day to go discover rare treasures, yet that's exactly what Rob Levinsky lives to do. Rob helped me source the emerald above. Okay, and you can look at the picture on page 51 and notice how the edges of that are in the form of the state of Iowa, which leads you to believe that the treasure's got to be in Iowa. Okay, so we're going to talk some more about how. Well, here's another use of the word magical. Okay, like two forlorn lovers, the opportunity for these two to meet is ever so slight. Yet when the unusual coupling arises, they can birth magical offspring. Yes, cavemen wore crowns, and emeralds were the only gemstones found in them. Of course, Caesar's friends soon stabbed him in the back, literally. Rome's new ruler, Augustus, then seized control of Egypt. Cleopatra committed suicide, and Augustus used her emerald mines to help bankroll the Pax Romans, one of the most peaceful periods in Roman history. History can be horribly ironic. As more centuries passed, people's interest in emeralds grew. From Cleopatra through Rome to the whole of Europe, the desire for emeralds spread like a slow and steady fire. Ferdinand conjured up a wild plan. The plan went, step one was to create a holy war. Okay, I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to have to stop. My eyesight's not getting any better. It's getting late. I can't even read. So, I will continue my perusal of this book later, tomorrow maybe. Spend a few seconds here talking about the chat and see what's going on. Are you guys enjoying this assessment and perusal of the book? Or do you find this terribly tedious and something I shouldn't do? The Hoof is out camping in the Rockies tonight in the snowy mountains west of South Park. That sounds like fun. Say it. Hoof. You almost got me. You almost got me. Well, Trust the Living, what is the synopsis of the research that you've compiled? Is it on Force Bend? Oh, I bought a new car last week. I'm obviously too drunk to fin. I'm too drunk to John Collins. So I bought a 2008 Chevrolet Uplander. My spiffy new ride is a 2008 Chevy Uplander. It's got 178,000 miles. I bought it just off of a couple of pictures on the internet, and the guarantee from the state of Kansas that they drove it onto the lot. So next week I'll be retrieving my prized possession, a 2008 Chevy minivan. Now I realize these minivans are out of style, but if this thing runs and drives, I'll have my perfect vehicle to dispose of at the Seekers Summit. Now, I just Googled how much it costs for a hotel in Tucson. And there's 540 people reserving rooms for the Seeking Treasure Searcher Summit, right? And right now, the price of hotel rooms, because of the Nancy Guthrie disappearance in Tucson, are twice to 4 times the normal going rate. Based upon this, if there's not any significant progress in this, I don't think I'm going to be going to the Seeker Summit. First of all, the hotel will be ridiculous in price. Secondly, the crime has not been solved, and there is nobody on the streets of Tucson making sure that you don't get raped and mugged and murdered, because they're all working on trying to find Nancy Guthrie, and none of them are actually patrolling, looking for actual crime that might be happening. And so the mayor, robberies are up 100% year over year. Drug problems in Tucson have also tripled. I honestly don't see Tucson, Arizona as being a safe place for somebody like myself to travel to. I'm not as old as Nancy Guthrie, but I'm not a 25-year-old ninja either. And I actually think that it would be unsafe for me to arrive in Tucson, Arizona, and attend a Seekers conference. Not to mention the fact that I don't know if is anybody terribly interested in interacting with Lou, Justin, the creators of Netflix's documentary? I mean, how many people would want to actually interact with those people? I'm sure they're all great people. I'm sure they're all great people individually. I'm sure they'd all be fun to be with. But aren't they going to be with themselves? When the evidence suggests that anytime Justin Posey, Matt DeMoss, and Cynthia get together, they hang out as a group. They hang out as a group. And so, I mean, unless you can infiltrate that group, you're not even going to get their attention. They're going to be in their own suite somewhere doing shots with each other, probably off of Cynthia's navel, and not even interested in interacting with the rest of us. I mean, that's proven that that's what they do. When those three people get together, especially if Amy Seeks is involved, they're just there for the crew. They're just there for the people that's got the camera. Do you really think they're going to want to interact with us? So I don't know. I think I'm kind of off. It's a 1,000-mile drive one way. The hotels in Truth or Consequences are pretty cheap. I can get a hotel room for $50 at a hotel that looks halfway nice. I'm sure with fees and everything, it'll be in the mid-70s. But still, that's not the $400 a night that they're looking for right now in Tucson. Or, I mean, even the cheapest, crappiest hotel in Tucson right now is well over $180, $200. It's about how the Hebrew sculptures began and the ancient Egypts building up forces to unify Upper and Lower Egypt and creating vassal states in the land of Canaan. So you've actually, how does this literature compare to the written accounts in the Bible? Is there an opportunity to compare and contrast what the Bible teaches and what these ancient scrolls that were written in Hebrew tell us? Oh, including how the book of the dead serpent's spell is connected to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Well, any ancient, any transcripted information that sheds light on the Garden of Eden story would probably be interesting for many people to hear. Fantastic thinks that cruising in an Uplander, I'm going to look like a badass, and nobody's going to mess with me. Yeah, nobody's going to mess with me because they think I'm driving a $2,000 car. But I got plenty of room in there for 7. I did get preoccupied. I don't know how many people have been preoccupied with the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping. I've been preoccupied. I have to tune into it at least to see if there's any breaking news on it. Yeah, I can take the party down by the river. I can take the van down by the river. I can take the party down by the river. That's right. I'm going to be the van. I don't know if a vehicle with 171,000 miles will make it to Arizona and back. So I looked at the cost of renting a car. So I was going to fly into Tucson, rent a car, drive to California for 2 days, go look at my redwood trees that I want to look at, come back to the SearcherCon, and then drop off the vehicle and then fly back home. But I decided that was getting too expensive.
Well, it sounds like you're discovering some information that it would confirm some of uh, uh, the text in the Bible in terms of a timeline. So, sounds like you've got some interesting information there that people of a certain type might be interested in. I don't think it'll be a widely a topic of wide interest unless there's something in there that will make history as we know it change. As in, Adam had a serpent. Well, I think I started drinking too early today. I honestly thought I'd get through like 8 or 10 chapters of that book tonight, but I spent too much time reading text and interpreting it than actually just saying what I thought each chapter meant. Anybody have any final thoughts? I mean, we're going on a couple hours tonight. Most of it's been me just reading that book. 100%. It's so many of these people these days want to say that it's the journey that's important. And it's the joy that you find in the journey that's important. Well, I'm going to have to apologize right now. I was not grown up in the era of participation ribbons. I did not grow up in the era of everybody gets first place. I grew up in the era of it's not about attempting, it's not about the job itself. It's about completing the work. And all these people that are putting out content about Forrest Finn's treasure hunt, about treasure hunting, about how to become a better treasure hunt, how it's about the journey, how it's about the joy, how it's about getting outside and experiencing nature. Well, I'm going to have to just say I'm sorry right now. But my generation didn't grow up thinking or being taught that it's the experience that's important. I grew up with the idea that finishing the task and finishing it well and doing the best you can was the most important thing. But that you didn't just go through the motions and get enjoyment out of the motion. Uh, Instead, that your enjoyment should be derived by finishing the task and doing it well. And that's where I think there's a huge disconnect between these people that are in the Forrest Finn after chase advisory group coming out of uh, Chase Inc. And these people are wanting to uh, convince you that it's the adventure that's important. It's the relationships you get that are important, and it's the tip that's important. And I just don't subscribe to that at all. And here's why: if that was the way in which the world worked, would you want a pilot that was just enjoying if your life's philosophy is that I want everybody to get the greatest enjoyment out of what they're doing, would you want your pilot that's piloting your airplane to be flying the plane just for the joy of it? And not whether or not they land the plane safely or land it in the best way possible? Wouldn't you want that person working for you? When you go to the hospital and you have a surgeon, and that surgeon's going to do work on you, wouldn't you like for that surgeon's outlook in life not to be that he is trying to get joy out of the journey of working on your body to replace your liver or your spleen or your, well, they don't replace those, whatever.
operating on your knee. Wouldn't you want that guy's goal to do the surgery as precisely and perfectly as possible and to complete the surgery and not leave you laying on that hospital bed with an opened up knee that's only halfway been repaired? Because the guy's joy ended halfway through the procedure, and he decided he'd rather go drink a cup of coffee than finish the job. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I live in a world of accomplishment. I live in a world of finishing the task. I live in a world of trying to do the task as perfectly as possible. Not in the world of, oh, just get enjoyment out of the journey. It doesn't matter if you finish or not. Jeep girl Jody must be going to the Seeker Summit so they can see the friends Jenny Kyle. It's about finishing a project before. Are you saying that? Oh, no, you're talking about your project. Yeah, I would. I mean, I would. I guess I would. It's just too far to go to Seeker Summit for me. I don't think I'm going to go. I really don't think I'm going to go. I think there's too much uncertainty in Tucson right now. I think it's a town in chaos. I don't think law enforcement's looking out for people that are coming in. It's less than an hour from the border. I was reading reports of increased crime. But I am still planning on having the get together in May, and I think I'm just gonna stick to that as any meetup opportunities for Forest Finn. I might change my mind, but at this point, I'm so scared of going to Seeker Summit that I might just go there and end up in Mexico and not ever come back. But I'm glad some people are excited about it. I can't consider Jenny Kyle my friend. I talked to her a couple times on Mysterious Writings, and she's responded to a couple of things I've written, but I have no particular ill will for or against. Just another content creator on YouTube, another content creator on WordPress, another person that's promoting treasure hunting in general. A thing that it's the my goal is to just I've been into this treasure hunting thing for 15 years, and it's not that I haven't met and communicated with some people like the ones here that I would consider good people, but it's not. I mean, John Collins Black was talking about joy in his book. It's just something that I don't get joy out of like I used to. I used to get joy out of sitting around and researching things and waiting for something from Forrest Finn to come out to be able to respond and comment about and this kind of thing. And I listen to these guys now come out on their treasure hunts, and they'll do a treasure con, they'll do a new interview, and they'll put out new information. And I don't get excited about wanting to dissect every word that they've said in that interview to see if it leads to anything important in their treasure hunt. I just do not. I absolutely do not get enjoyment out of that anymore. And I've said this before, and I think the reason I don't get enjoyment out of that anymore is because I was so let down by the ending of the Forrest Finn treasure hunt that I refused to put myself through that again. And I cannot get myself as involved in anything else that I was in this other one. And so I got to draw a line at how far I'm willing to be involved in it. I've already went boots on the ground, did the best I think that I possibly can with the information that's in the book. I'm not willing to continue to wait for more information to come out in interviews and have to watch 100 episodes of a certain YouTuber's channel to get new content when none of that content was even relevant to begin with. Final thoughts? Anybody? Well, that concludes my fourth beer for the evening and this episode of the David Paisano Show, focusing on the There's Treasure Inside book. I'll be back tomorrow to knock down a few more chapters of this. And once I get done going through this book, I will give my synopsis of what I think it all meant. And then I will move on to the Justin Posey book. Oh, not that crowd. Well, like I said, I don't see myself hanging out with Lou B. I don't see myself hanging out with Justin or Cynthia. I just see them. They're all going to hang out together with their Netflix buddies. Probably have a private suite. Jam and his crew will be hanging out together. They'll have their private suite. Chad Bird will be hanging out with his groupies. They'll have their private suite. And most of us will just be there to try to win $20,000, looking for an on-site one-day treasure hunt. So, I just don't see, I have no idea, where am I going to fit into this conference? They haven't even posted an itinerary of what you're going to listen to each day. There's been no look, we've got a block of rooms at this hotel. You're guaranteed to get this rate. If you register by this date, you can get a room here. It's a free-for-all. I mean, their treasure event is a free-for-all. No booked hotel rooms. Most conferences have a conference hotel rate. Well, you probably can't get one because of this Nancy Guthrie thing that's going on. Nobody's going to give you a hotel rate for March when the media is paying $300, $400 a night for a $50 hotel room to cover this case. I don't have my group. I mean, I have this group of people. Most of these people know me, would probably walk up to me and say, "How you doing? I watched your show." I don't have a suite. I got a Chevy Uplander and a mattress. At best. Anyway. Well, thanks for joining in. Thanks for participating in the conversation. It's been a fun time. We'll be back tomorrow and talk some more about the Treasure Inside book. I'm going to try to get through it here in the next couple days. Hope everybody has a good night and a great weekend. I'll type that. Have a great weekend. Have a good night. NIGHT. Oh, close enough. Like I said, I'll knock off more of this book tomorrow. All right, folks. That's it. Have a good night. The bunghole returned just in time for us to say goodnight. Sorry. I must have bored you away from the show. I'm leaving. Sorry. All right. Good night, folks.